Hey, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker of LYN Realty in Houston, and I'm so excited again to be with you for Smarter Real Estate Weekly on Wednesdays, where I take you on some of my real estate adventures and also arm you with practical strategies to be a smarter buyer, seller, tenant, or landlord. And today is another episode in my series, Building My Dream Home. So far I've revealed the first and second floor plans and what my new home will look like on the outside. Today, we are going to continue to look at more details inside. So in a previous video, in my most recent episode in this series, I showed you the foyer and the study, just sort of that main, entry area and the stairs going up to the second floor. This week, today, we are looking at the left side of the house, the formal dining, the butler's pantry and bar, and the kitchen, which are really some of the most exciting areas of the home. Of course, the kitchen is kind of known as the gathering place in today's society, where it's the center, the heart of the home. People are cooking food and eating and just having a good time with family and also entertaining guests. And of course, the dining room is where a lot of that continues. And in some homes, the butler's pantry and bar is where some of that either behind the scenes or in front of the guests happenings occur. Okay, so on this episode, I'm going to be showing you some of my Pinterest inspiration. And it's not just found on Pinterest. I found it in different places online and took some pictures myself and got some out of magazines, but I've posted them to my Pinterest boards. And so I want to show you some of that and also teach you some of the ways to think through how to lay out these very important rooms of the home, especially the kitchen, where to put the different appliances and the different elements, thoughts on cabinets and countertops and style and sizes of the island and different things like that, and the different ways that we can arrange elements of the butler's pantry and the bar, and what those areas can really be utilized for to make your home a lively place and also just fun for when you're just with your own family and no one's over. Okay, so this is really meant to teach you how to think through your own floor plan design if you are building a home from scratch or doing something semi-custom, or if you're looking at existing homes to just know what to look for. What are some of the best practices and the things that your eye should gravitate toward, with the idea in mind that when you're going for a home, you should go for something that you will love and enjoy for possibly many years to come, but then also thinking about the potential end game, which is to be able to sell your home successfully and have a lot of people on the market looking for what you have. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen and go ahead and open up the floor plan to show you what I've got. Okay, so we've looked at this before. This is the front of the home as sketched, and I have redacted some private information, including address and builder name, as I've mentioned in previous videos as well. And so what we're looking at today is the left side of the home, and specifically the first floor. So this is going to be the front dining room window, and then we're going to go back all the way back toward the back of the house. Okay. All right, so let's scroll down and take a look at the first floor plan. This is the overview, but I'm going to scroll down to the front of the home because this is what we're going to focus on. And we're going to start by entering the home and taking a left turn into the dining room. And this is the opening to that dining room. We're actually going to have what's called a coffered ceiling, or commonly referred to as an egg crate ceiling, which basically, well, you know what? I don't think I saved a picture of it. It's basically going to be little boxes like this, just, so boxes and rows of little boxes that will really add a nice elegance and design to the ceiling. And then the chandelier will be hanging right from the middle. And so this is just what the drafter has put in place as to what a dining table might look like in this room and where it might be. We have a different seating arrangement for our dining table. We do have a rectangular dining table, but we have a bench, which we plan to put on this side of the table. And then also chairs and, we are going to be on either end, plus at this end. We actually have 4 chairs for ours. Yep, there's going to be one at each end. And then we'll have some extra space. For example, this wall or this wall could be used for a server and hutch, or what is more commonly called a china cabinet. But this is actually a 2-piece stacked on top of each other that we have existing in our current home that we'll be moving to this home. And then potentially, if we don't have that extra 4th chair, we could actually put one in one of the corners, for example, up here, back here, or even over here. So it's just kind of like a nice, piece set off to the side If somebody wants to kind of sit off to the side and not be at the dining table eating, that's a possibility as well. And of course, this opening is going to be nice and large, so it'll feel really open. When you come into the foyer, you won't feel very shut off because there's a lot of openings on either side, so it won't feel like a hallway. Okay, and I should mention, so these two windows are openable because the law or the building code requires that you be able to escape from any room in your home in case of emergency like fire. And then this front window is a fixed window. And let me teach you how to read window measurements. So 3080 means 3 feet 0 inches wide by 8 feet 0 inches tall. And then it'll also tell you the header height. So 9-foot header means the top of the window of the actual glass, the little window frame is going to be at 9 feet high. There are 10-foot ceilings, as you can see right here in the middle of this little dining table. And so therefore the windows are going to basically be 1 foot below the ceiling. And you can see the measurements of the room. This room is going to be about 13 by 16-ish, so a very sizable dining room. When you are looking for a dining room in an existing home or building one, you always want to make sure, what size of dining table do I have currently that I want to move in? Or what size of dining table will I need based on the number of people that typically would be seated there? And so when you're shopping for those and looking online or in stores, look at those measurements, make sure it can fit there, and make sure when the seats are pulled out, as people are going to back themselves up away from the table to get in and out of their seat, that they have enough room, that they're not hitting a wall, and that maybe there's actually enough room for someone to pass by behind them if the chair is pulled out. So all considerations to think about. Okay, and so as we pass through, the room that's in between the kitchen and the dining is this butler's pantry. So traditionally in old luxury homes, a lot of stuff was done in the kitchen that was hidden away. The kitchen wasn't so open. It was more like a galley kitchen, almost like a hallway, right? Where you've got cabinets and countertops on one side and the other, and then just the tile or whatever type of flooring in between. And so now, though, kitchens are so open, they're really a centerpiece and a showcase for the home, in a place where your guests actually gather and either participate in the cooking and prep process, or at least they're there chatting with you as you are getting things ready. You're hosting them. You may still continue to be prepping some food, maybe the later courses or dessert or whatever, and setting things out. And so the guests are involved in that process. Or if it's just your family and you have kids or other family members, that they're involved in the process. Or if you don't have kids, that your spouse is involved. Or if you're single, that you're just, having a good time yourself. Okay. I've lived all these stages of life. All right. Right now we have a child. It's me and my husband and our son. Okay, so the butler's pantry, though, is also a way for especially modern families and luxury homes to kind of have a staging place for food that's being brought from the kitchen through the butler's pantry to the dining room to serve the guests. And so this countertop on what I would call the back side of the butler's pantry serves just that purpose. The front side is this side, which is actually the bar side. So if this were enclosed right here, if this were a solid wall, then it would be kind of like a galley, so an extension of the kitchen. And so therefore, it really wouldn't be a place where people would necessarily come to. It's just really more of, we're going to bring plates and dishes of food and pots or whatever, and put them on serving trays and stick them right here on the countertop, and just kind of getting them prepped, putting final touches, whatever people do when they have help around the house, which we really don't have a lot of help. And then they bring it into the dining room. Okay. But for us, I think it's the more of the purpose of our butlers is going to be partly that, like, okay, maybe we're prepping in the kitchen and we're assembling, but we don't want to leave the finished food there because it's in the way. We're trying to get it out of the way. So we're going to come put it in the butlers before we take it to the dining room, something like that. Or if the food is finished being served and we want to use the island for some other purpose, then we're just going to move it out of the way over here into the butlers for now, kind of thing. But then the bar, really, because there's this opening, it's going to be kind of like a window, okay? Like a walk-up window at a little fast food place, but more elegant than that. So people can actually come from any direction, from the family room, coming out of the dining room into the foyer, coming from upstairs, coming down, and they can come up to this window. And if we get so fancy as to hire a bartender or somebody to help, we're not drinkers, but we could potentially serve such drinks or non-alcoholic ones and do that through this window. But from a day-to-day standpoint, we as a family would just, I'm really excited about this room because I don't have, and I've never had a butler's pantry or bar in my home. And so coming into here, we actually have a little drink fridge below. So I'll get to have all my drinks there because right now the drinks are kind of crammed, into the fridge and they just take up space. So like I have sparkling water like LaCroix or however you say it, and things like that. And they're in the door of the fridge, but I can only put a few at a time, basically like one of each flavor. And then when I take one out, then I put another one in. And so the drink fridge will help because I'll get to just put lots of those drinks in there and they won't be taking up space from the main fridge. And then there's a sink so that we'll be able to use that to rinse any glasses and mugs, to get ourselves drinks. And this will also be away from the food prep area of the kitchen. So that way it's not so crowded in there, even though the kitchen is enormous. So it should be just fine, but this will just be really nice. And then this is also kind of a, it'll be like the coffee bar. So I don't drink coffee, but my husband does. And so I think he'll really enjoy in the morning going to a special little spot to fix himself a cup of coffee. So there's just a little bit of a respite, like, that's tucked away from just the main kitchen where there might be a lot of hustle and bustle of, food prep going on and just packing lunches for the day and whatnot. So this side, I'm going to show you what the cabinets are going to look like above, as well as along the back wall in a later page. Okay, so this is the kitchen. Now, here's the deal with kitchens. There are different layouts to a kitchen. I mentioned galley kitchen. There's an L-shaped kitchen. There's an open, big, open concept kitchen. There's an island kitchen. So there's several different types of kitchens and the layouts, and also where appliances and the sink are located and how many sinks. Okay. So some kitchens will have 2 sinks. Some will just have one, but some will have one maybe in the island and one along one of the walls, either this big wall or off to the side. And so one might use one of those sinks to wash vegetables, and then the other sink will be to wash dishes and bigger items. But for us, we don't have a second sink in the kitchen. Our second sink is at the bar. And so that is where we're going to just be doing the glasses, stuff that has to do with drinks. And then this sink will just be everything else, food and dishes, heavy, dirty stuff in the kitchen. The island is 11 feet long, which is super exciting because right now my kitchen island is like kind of on the small side. And so it gets really crowded. Like when you're trying to do food prep and you've got we've got a decent amount of counter space, but it's not a ton. And so when we've already filled up counter, space with doing prep, chopping and different cutting boards and mixing bowls and things to assemble, and then all of a sudden, okay, we've got the island to serve like buffet style, meaning we don't really have any more place to prep if there's something big, like a big piece of meat to carve. It just gets really crowded. And if there's packaging, things that we have to bring out of the fridge to prep. So we're really excited about having this big island. Here are the really key takeaways from this kitchen and why I love this design that my husband and I put together. It is very practical. It's functional and makes sense from a day-to-day living perspective, but it's also a nice layout. And here's why. Okay, so when you come into the kitchen in the morning, the first stop you're going to make is probably to this. This is the refrigerator. We're going to have a built-in refrigerator, 48 inches. Most likely it'll be Sub-Zero, which is like top of the line. But we're going to get out, milk and whatever breakfast foods, that we might be getting out of the fridge for that morning. And then what do we do? And it may not be breakfast. It could be lunch, or it could be dinner. We could be taking out raw meat, produce and whatnot. And so we're going to bring it over to the island probably, or maybe over here because there's actually space to either side of the sink, and start prepping. So we might start washing produce, unpackaging meat that's like dripping with blood if it's raw meat. If we do the unpackaging of the meat, we'll probably do at the island because this is actually where the pull-out trash can compartment is, right here, which I'll show you in the cabinet detail in a minute. And so we're going to need to be doing washing and the initial prep stuff here. And then we're going to move on to cooking it over here. This is the range. So we're actually going to have what's called a 1.5 oven. So it's going to be most likely a Wolf range, 6 burners on top, and either a griddle or grill in the middle, or we'll have actually 8 burners total. And the bottom will have 1 full-size oven and then 1 roughly half-size oven next to it. And then over here, we'll actually have a built-in microwave on top, I lift my hand too high. I don't even think that's in the shot anymore. I'm looking at myself on the Zoom here, and then a built-in oven right below the microwave. And so these are all the cooking appliances. So we're basically going in order, and this is a design principle that you want to take stuff out of the fridge, wash in the sink, prep on the countertop, and then go to the cooking appliances. But the more common trend these days is to have the sink in the island, which is okay. You can break it up and jump over here and wash and then come over and cook. Some people even have things kind of hodgepodge, like fridge and then cooking appliances and then sink, which is kind of weird to me because you're walking in different directions. It makes sense to go in order rather than like walking back and forth between the spots that you're going to be going to in the kitchen. And the thing I don't like about the sink in the island is because when the island, I see it as a serving place. So you're probably going to be putting food, say, on this side or maybe even this side. You're going to have bar stools on this side, on the side facing the family room. So most likely you're not going to have plates of food to serve there unless you just have so much food it needs to wrap around the entire island, in which case you would just move the bar stools out of the way somewhere else, maybe upstairs, just to provide that. But if there's people that are going to be sitting up on the bar stools to relax, or sitting up to turn away from the kitchen and face the family room, this is extra seating. They can be watching TV or interacting with people who are sitting in the family room or standing between the family room and the kitchen. Then what I don't want is you've got this great food that's laid out on the island to serve people to eat. And then all of a sudden you've got the sink right here and someone goes to wash their hands or whatever, and the water just splatters on like dirty dishes in the sink, or their hands are, they're washing them and they're splattering nasty water everywhere. And then it gets into the food. So clean freak here, did not want that. And so I wanted to make sure the sink was on the back wall. Now, people like to have the sink opposite on the island, opposite the range or the cooktop, because it's a certain look. It makes a sink in the middle, kind of has, your nice plumbing fixture. So it's sort of like a centerpiece to the island, but also because when they're washing stuff, they want to be facing the family room where there might be a TV mounted above the fireplace or on the side and one of the built-ins. So that way they can watch TV as they're spending a lot of time washing and stuff. Because if you think about it, when we're cooking, most of the time is spent in prep, right? We're washing things and then we're chopping things. But when we actually cook, we're not necessarily so actively just standing there, for 10, 15, 20 minutes cooking. A lot of times we put it on the stove, in a pot, and we just wait for it to boil, and we set a timer on, our phone or the Alexa or whatever, so that we can then come back and check on it. But we're not necessarily standing there just like stirring and stirring and stirring. So people want to have that sink where they can face the TV and kind of be occupied in that way. And I get that, and I'd like that too, but for the serving purpose, I just could not. I'm like, I just can't. So I think a compromise for us is, okay, wash those vegetables, whatever, the TV may be on. Maybe wait for the commercial to wash those vegetables. If you can get those washed, then come and chop on the island, right? And then when you're done, then come cook over here. Now the island's cleared off for serving the final product. Okay, we'll take a look at the kitchen cabinets in just a minute when I go to the cabinet page. But one final thing I wanted to look at in the kitchen is the pantry. The breakfast and family room and the rest of the first floor we'll go over in a future video. But this pantry is a really nice big walk-in pantry with 16-inch deep shelves. That's very deep, deeper than our current shelves. The deeper the shelves, kind of the more elegant the look is. Sometimes you can see it as not as functional because you've got lots of things, deep, and so then you can't necessarily reach the things in the back. But if you have large things, that's okay, because that item will just be the depth of the shelf. Or if you have multiples of something, right? If you've got soy sauce or salt or oils, you can just stack them just like at the grocery store. Soy sauce, soy sauce, soy sauce, oils, 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 salt, salt, salt. And so you don't need to grab the ones in the back until you finish grabbing the ones in the front, and then everything shifts forward like that. Okay, or chips, different packages of the same types of snack or something, to that effect. So yes, that's where that's gonna be. And yeah, that pretty much shows you, the kitchen layout. We have the dishwasher, I did wanna mention, on this side of the sink rather than on this side of the sink. And here's the reason. My husband actually made this observation that sometimes when we're in the kitchen together, one person is washing dishes and the other person is cooking. So if I'm in front of the sink washing dishes, by the dishes that need to be washed by hand, and then also loading the dishwasher, if the dishwasher is between the sink and the range, and it's open, then my husband has to go around this open door, possibly bang his leg against the open door, which both of us have done before. And it's just we get in each other's way. So if the dishwasher is on this side, that doesn't happen, right? He can go in between. If he needs to come over to the sink to do a quick rinse, or I need to hand him something and I need to walk around from the sink to the range, nothing is open and in the way like a dishwasher door. So the dishwasher door is over here. Most likely, we don't need to return to the fridge that frequently during this process because we would have gotten everything we need out of the fridge for that meal prep anyway. Okay, so I think that takes care of that. Oh, on this side, I do want to mention, being that it says flush bar, there's knee space. And so you could put bar stools here. Our plan is to put at least 3. And then, there's going to be cabinets also on this side, so nothing is wasted. There's no empty space under the island that has no cabinets. Because remember, I always want to maximize storage space. Okay, so I think I've covered everything in there. If you have any questions, anything that you think I missed that you really want me to go over, please feel free to comment or message. Otherwise, let's move on and show you the kitchen cabinets. So this is that back wall. Okay, very exciting. So you can see the vent hood. I don't think we're going to get one shaped like this, but this is just a placeholder. And so that's going to be over this oven. So they call it a cooktop. It's really one unit, so it's going to be a range. A cooktop would be if it's just the drop-in cooktop with burners, and then the oven would be a separate appliance. But in our case, we're really leaning toward getting the entire range unit, which is more expensive, but it's going to look really nice. And so these are the lower cabinets, okay? And then the ones below the sink here. We're planning to have a farm sink, so it comes all the way out, just as large as possible, single compartment. Offers the most flexibility because we find that 50-50 or a 40-60 sink with a divider in the middle. And what I mean by 50-50 is either both sides are equal, 50-50, or 40-60, meaning one side is a little bit smaller than the other side, is that divider really gets in the way. If we have a large pot or pan, for example, and it just, that handle goes across that divider and you're trying to wash it and you're hitting the divider, it's just really hard. And so having a single compartment to us is just much more practical for the way that we live. Of course, what's right for you may be different. And then with the cabinets, you've got the 42-inch uppers, which of course, you always want 42-inch uppers. That's taller, higher, especially if you have the higher ceilings. If it's a higher end home, that's what people are looking for. But we also added what we call upper uppers. And so upper cabinets above the upper cabinets, taking them all the way to the ceiling, which really gives a much more modern, finished, elegant look. And then here's a window above the sink, which takes away some cabinet space and loses a little bit of symmetry on either side of the vent hood, but gives more light, brings that in, just makes it happier and more beautiful. And so that was the goal there. And then over here, we've got a thinner set of cabinets because there's not too much room between the fridge and that window. You can see DW, dishwasher. This is the fridge space. There's going to be cabinets right above and some shorter ones. And then the upper uppers are taller. And then as we go over here, this is that little sliver between the pantry and the butler's pantry/bar, that small wall that has the oven with the drawer below. And they call it steam oven, which is basically a microwave, and a cabinet above that. Here's the doorway leading to the pantry. And this shows you kind of like a shadow, a side view of what that back wall of the kitchen is, which in our case, it's really the right side of the house. I call it the back wall because if you're standing in the family room looking toward the kitchen, it's the back wall. Okay, and then the island. So here, this is the trash compartment, which is the pull-out cabinet where you have trash cans inside. And then next to it are cabinets, but we actually changed them to drawers, and we're going to have the drafter change that because we find that with large things, heavy things like stoneware with the plates and bowls, which is what we primarily have. We don't have a lot of like plasticware, and so we're really stoneware type people. And also pots and pans, those get heavy, right? And the experience we're having now is when we have those items in lower cabinets, especially as we're getting older, I am 40 now, is you're bending over or you're squatting down and you're just like, oh, just trying to get these heavy things out of the cabinets, and it's so hard. And especially when you're reaching far back. Drawers make it easier. So you pull out and all of a sudden the drawer is right below you. You can pick things out much more easily. And because the drawer is pulling all the way out, you get full access to the full depth of the drawer instead of having to reach way in if it was a cabinet. So that's what we're doing, is converting it to 2 levels of drawers. in these lower cabinet spaces. And then this is a sliver of a cabinet that's going to be for baking trays and things like that that are more flat that we can store vertically and insert them in there. All right, and then this just shows you kind of a side view, like a cutout of the island. And this is the other side of the island where the bar stools are facing the family room. So there's going to be cabinets across that we can store things that we don't need to access quite as often because they are going to be kind of tucked a little bit under because there's knee space, right, for you to sit on the bar stools. So again, a little bit harder, right, to crawl under there and get stuff out. So we think that we're probably going to put party supplies, you know, like disposable plates and extra napkins and plasticware and things like that so that we don't have to access them all the time. Okay, let's scroll over and take a look at the butlers. Okay, so this side is the back side or the left side, which is basically the butlers. We're going to have glass front upper cabinets to display fine china, and then the lower cabinets will be opaque, just like all the cabinets and drawers in the kitchen. And then this is the front side, which is really the bar side adjacent to the foyer. So this is going to be the open window space. And then we're going to have upper cabinets here that are solid because we're not displaying anything. These cabinets are facing the back or the left side of the house, which is facing away from guests. And then the drink fridge will be here with some lower cabinets here and here. So that finishes that out. Okay, let's see. I think that was it for cabinets and such that I needed to show you. Let's take a look at some Pinterest inspiration to wrap it up because we've got pretty pictures. Okay, so this is my Pinterest page. It is at the Julie Tam because somebody took Julie Tam at the time. So I was like, well, heck, I'm going to be the Julie Tam. And so I've got all these different boards and I'm going to show you specifically the kitchen board. The dining room, I really don't have a lot. I just put one picture in there. I don't even love it. But at the time I was like, well, there's something about it that I like. So I'm just going to stick it on there just in case so I have some inspiration. But I'm going to go over here to the home kitchen board. Definitely check out my Pinterest boards for ideas. Now, I don't love all these kitchens in their entirety, okay? I love elements of each of these kitchens. And when I say elements, it could literally be like one thing, like the vent hood of this kitchen. Let me tell you what, vent hoods are tricky, okay? This vent hood is not my favorite vent hood of all time. I actually have a vent hood that I like more. But let me see, let me enlarge it. Here's the interesting thing. In the city of Houston and in some other cities, I'm sure, they need to inspect your vent hood and the exhaust fan pipe that, you know, draws all the stuff out of your house as you're cooking your greasy food. And so they have to be able to remove a panel like this, for example, to check in there. And so if you have a vent hood, it needs to be accessible in that way. Or you have to have an opening on the outside of your house. Or for example, if this vent hood were against a wall adjacent to the garage, there could be an access panel on the other side of the wall, which would be in your garage going through the sheetrock. That would be more palatable. In our case, it's an exterior wall, stucco on the outside. No, we're not going to have an opening from the stucco into our house. That just allows for potential water penetration, so not a good idea. So we have to have an access panel where the inspector can open it and inspect inside. So this was kind of a compromise. I really liked kind of the more sloped contoured vent hood more. This is a more rigid kind of, you know, geometrical shape, but you know, it's a compromise and it works, you know, so we're like, okay, well, we can live with that. All right, to take a look at some other photos, I and my husband agrees, we really like the look of this picture and this picture and this picture. So the common thread here is these dark, almost black cabinets. Oh, what happened to the view picture thing? I don't know if this is going to take us to the right thing. I hope so. Nah, let's not. Okay, let's go ahead and get away from this page. Let's see if I can access the X because I have my screen set up this way. Oh, okay. There's no X. It's just the OK button. All right. So yes, we like the really dark, basically almost black cabinet styles. but we also like the contrast with the black and white. So we thought that we could potentially do, I don't know if we're going to do it exactly like this kitchen, where it's like black island, black uppers, white lowers. We could potentially do, black island, white everywhere else, or the other way around, whatever combination we're going to consult with our interior designer on. But we also really like the white countertops. Really, the quartz is very nice. Kind of a nicer quartz, not the quartz that looks like a man-made synthetic material. We do like granite and we like quartzite, but quartzite is more expensive. And so anyway, we also like the Waterfall Island. What that means is, let's see here, this style right here. Gosh, this kitchen is a killer kitchen. It's beautiful. So where the countertop on the island continues down, so it's like a waterfall down the sides as well, instead of having cabinet paneling on the sides. So this is going to add to the cost. The builder said about 1,500 or somewhere on that order of magnitude. So, that is really doable and palatable when you think about the impact that makes on the entire home. That's what you have to think about when you're deciding whether to spend that extra money is it worth it in the grand scheme of things as a percentage of the total price of the home? And so, yes, of course it is. It's a small percentage of the price of the home. And so it's absolutely worth it. And it will make a big impact because it's in the kitchen and we will just enjoy it and love the way that it looks. And so we are definitely going to go for that. Okay. Another decision point to make is like, how many pendant lights do you need above the island, which I'll talk about in the electrical plan, but do you do 2 very large ones or 3 small ones? And just kind of what look are you going for? Okay, so yeah, just kind of pin some different things here. You can see the farm sink that, extends out. That also means you cannot put one of those pull out sponge and brush compartments for your dishwashing purposes. So we are going to have to buy something to put in the lower cabinet below the sink. So when we open it, we can have a little caddy maybe hanging from the door that tucks away and hides the sponges and brushes so that they're not so ugly, like on top of the countertop or the sink and visible. You can also get these made by the cabinet company, but of course that's going to cost more when they really build it in and all that. I think it's something you can just buy from, a retailer online or a brick and mortar store like Bed Bath and Beyond or something like that. And then just, attach it yourself. That's not too difficult. Okay. So yes, that is what I've got here. So I'm going to stop the screen share and thank you for watching. Please give this a thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook and keep watching. I also post to LinkedIn. I've been meaning to post to Instagram. It's just not a really friendly social media site because you can't put a link, in the post. And so I don't know, I just haven't quite figured out exactly what I want to do with that. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know because I'm a little bit of a novice when it comes to Instagram and some of these younger, millennial and younger generations social media sites. So anyway, please join me again for Smarter Real Estate. And I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks so much for watching and have a great one.